Hi everyone, it's Saul, and you already know where I am. I'm back in the Peak District again for potentially the final time this year. This was a very spur-of-the-moment trip. I woke up this morning and I thought the weather looks like it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Probably won't get many more days like this now until next spring, so why not take advantage and get yourself out here? So that's what I did. We've just left Bradwell and I'm going to let non-diegetic Saul tell you where we're going. She's the one with the map, so...
Thank you, Diegetic Saul. As today's trip was uncharacteristically spontaneous, I've picked a quick and easy route which will allow me to tie up a glaring loose end from a previous video. We begin our journey not in Bradwell, but just next door in the tiny hamlet of Brough, from which we'll be following a walking trail through to Hope and then Castleton. This is the same trail I followed in my Castleton video, and in fact almost everything beyond Hope is ground I covered in that video. When we arrive in Castleton, we'll be making our way up Cave Dale, and this is that unfinished business I mentioned earlier because I never actually reached the top of Cave Dale on my last visit. Today though, I'm making it my mission to reach the top, at which point I'll descend back down to Castleton and catch the bus back to Sheffield. All in all, today's walk should clock in at just 9.3 kilometres, or a little shy of 5.8 miles. This is by far my shortest walk to date, over half a mile shorter than my Stanage Edge video, and the first 3 miles of that are on fairly level ground, so it should be significantly easier. The highest point will be the crossroads at the top of Cave Dale at just 422 metres above sea level, and the lowest should be somewhere around 170 metres as we walk alongside Peaks Hole Water. The first part of the walk was sadly uneventful. I did hope to take a look at Navio Station, which, as I mentioned in my Ladybower video, lies at the end of a former Roman road between Brough and Glossop. Sadly, there's very little trace of the station today, so little in fact that I actually walked right past it in the first clip without even noticing. Speaking of stations though, there were plenty of trains about on the Hope Valley line this morning, and this footpath makes for a surprisingly good vantage point. Of course, we're not here to spot trains, so let's get back on the trail, shall we? It wasn't long before I arrived at Hope, and from this point on, we're back in familiar territory.
So we've just passed Hope, and we're now back on the same trail that I followed in my Castleton video. Just back there where that ranger's van is. That's where we stopped for lunch before. Can't stop there now because the van's blocking the bench, but never mind. I must admit, the first part of this walk from Bradwell to Hope was a little bit of a bust. I was kind of hoping to see a bit more of the Roman fort, but looks like there isn't really much trace of it left to see, which is a shame.
Speaking of things being a bit of a shame, you may notice that the weather isn't quite as beautiful as I promised, but don't worry, things will soon start to pick up. Now that we're back on familiar ground, you may recognise Peaks Hole Water, which of course is looking notably deeper than it was back in April. And I'm sure you'll recognise Hope Valley Cement Works, which so far has appeared in every Peak District video I've done.
Here we are again at the foot crossing over the freight branch to Hope Cement Works. Still no trains today, but there are some new fences and lights, which is interesting. There's actually a train coming. I had a feeling if I waited around for a few minutes there might just be a train.
This train, or more accurately locomotive, is the diminutive Class 20, one of the largest locos cleared to run on the Cement Works branch. Breedon currently operates 3 of these locos, which haul cement wagons to and from the plant to Earl's Sidings. Hope Cement Works is the single largest producer of cement in the United Kingdom, and while the locos themselves might not be the smoothest ride, they do play a vital part in keeping the operation running smoothly.
Looks like we got some sunlight at last, which I'm very pleased to see. I was a little bit worried that it was going to be miserable all day. Now that's more like it. Look at that. This is exactly how I was hoping it would turn out when I left the house this morning. I'm really glad the sun's come out. I was really hoping we'd get some nice blue skies. When I woke up this morning, it was like this. And I thought, you know, I'm going to get out, I'm going to enjoy the weather. And as soon as I got here, it was miserable and cloudy. But the sun's out again, so it's not been a total bust. Hello.
One thing you've probably noticed if you've watched my other Peak District videos is an abundance of sheep farming in the area. It's believed that sheep may have been farmed here as early as the tail end of the Neolithic era, some 4,000 years ago, and to this day sheep farming remains the most lucrative agricultural venture in the area, with arable farming almost non-existent. According to a report from the Peak District National Park Authority, over 90% of the Peak District is graded poorly or very poorly under the UK's agricultural land classification. This means that the land is very poorly suited to arable farming, due to the climate, soil quality, hilly terrain and stony ground. But one thing that does grow very well here is grass, hence the sheep farming.
Okay, we're back on solid ground at last, and just look at how much mud I've managed to pick up. It's all down my trousers as well. This is why you wear suitable footwear, everybody.
I soon arrived in Castleton, and with the clock ticking, I wasted no time in getting myself to the base of Cave Dale, which is nestled discreetly between two cottages on the south side of the village.
Okay, it is currently 2:30. I'm aiming to get the 4 o'clock bus back to Sheffield, which means I have about 45 minutes to get to the very top of Cave Dale and 45 minutes to get back. Can I do it?
I spoke a lot about Cave Dale in my Castleton video, particularly its formation by glacial meltwater eroding a channel through the soft limestone of the area. But one thing I didn't mention is that the erosion continues to this day. The valley collects water from the surrounding area and channels it down into the caves below, and it's common for streams like this one to form after heavy rainfall. It may take tens of thousands of years, but over time these streams will continue to eat away at the limestone and make the valley deeper and deeper.
Okay, I've now reached the same point in Cave Dale that I reached in the Castleton video, and I've done it in just 15 minutes. Last time it took me over half an hour to get to this same point. Bear in mind that time I was just coming off the back of a 9-mile walk, and today I've walked about 3 miles. I think I said this in the last video, but Cave Dale really does seem to just go on forever. We're very nearly at the top though. I can see light peeking around this next corner, so we must be nearly there. Okay, I've rounded the corner and the sun is now directly in front of me, shining right through the valley. I feel like I'm walking towards the light. Well, I am walking towards a light, but it's the sun. The view behind us is absolutely incredible, by the way. The view ahead, I can't see it, but I'm sure that's lovely too.
As you saw on the signpost at the entrance to Cave Dale, the valley forms the northernmost section of the Limestone Way, a 46-mile walking trail which runs from Castleton to Matlock and Rochester. I don't think I could manage the full 46 miles in one go, but Castleton to Matlock is only 26 miles, which, with suitable preparation, I might be able to handle. Watch this space, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, we're definitely near the top now. You can see that it's starting to plateau. I do know that there's a crossroads with some farm tracks at the top, so we'll definitely know when we get there. There's a single lone cow up here. Must be a pretty boring life. Okay, I officially see no higher ground than where we are right now. This is the top of Cavedale. Okay, we have finally made it to the official highest point of Cavedale. That footpath goes to Bradwell, that one to Peak Forest, and that one to Chapel on Lefrith. And this one goes back to Castleton, which is where we're going. I actually made pretty good time on the way up, by the way. It only took me about 35 minutes to get to the very top, so I've got a little bit of extra time to get back down again. Looks like we're not going to be missing any buses today. It is absolutely dead silent up here, by the way. So unbelievably quiet. Thankfully, I can actually see where I'm going this time because the sun is not only behind me, but also starting to set, which counterintuitively actually improves visibility because it was blindingly bright on the way up. Okay, we're entering familiar territory once again, which means we are almost at the bottom. I'm intrigued to see how much footage I've captured today, by the way. I got over an hour when we went to Bamford. This has been a much shorter walk, so I'm thinking maybe 20-25 minutes, but we'll find out when I get home.
Okay, so I actually ended up capturing over 49 minutes of footage. You know me, I don't do things by half. I don't usually like to plug my Patreon mid-video, but if you're absolutely desperate to see the full uncut 49 minutes, most of which is just me repeating the same sentence 6 times in a row to get the best take, why not check it out? Although I gave myself some extra time to get back into Castleton, the descent actually ended up being slower than the ascent, and when I reached the bus station, my bus was already there, so I guess that wraps up today's video. Sorry that this one had less of an educational focus than my previous Peak District videos. Once again, I really just wanted to take advantage of the good weather and make one last trip before the end of the year. In any case, I already have a dozen different walks planned for next year, including Frogger Edge, Rushup Edge, the Monsell and Woodhead trails, and even Kinder Scout. So thank you for joining me for not only this video, but all the Peak District videos I've done this year, and I cannot wait until spring when I'll be back out here again. Until then, bye-bye.
I must admit, the first part of the walk from Bradwell to Hope was a little bit of a... There's way too much mud here to be talking while I'm recording, which counterintuitively improves visibility quite a lot because it was blindingly blurry. I must admit, the first part of this walk from there's still mud. It's everywhere. I made pretty good time on the way up, by the way. It only took me about 35 minutes to get to the top of the but it seems like there's actually no real trace of it, which is a shame. Mud again. I've just left Bradwell and I'm going to let non-giant, but apparently there's no real trace of it left. Squirrel!